Adam Pieper. I, along with my wife Pam, farm with our 3 kids. Megan, the oldest, my son Cortland, and Stan, the youngest. Our farm consists of corn, soybeans, and alfalfa, and we also feed cattle to enter the fat cattle market. We currently built a confinement barn and integrated the Lely system. In our confinement barn, we have 6 pens which will hold 960 cattle at capacity.
Dad and I kind of share the role in the barn. We work together to make decisions and keep the cattle flowing through, working them, making sure the kitchen is stocked full with feed, and keeping things rolling. We have slats under our floor so we can contain all our manure and then apply it to our fields for fertilizer. Our feeding system, we feed upwards of 6 to 7 times a day rather than 1 to 2 times in a traditional lot. Our cattle are also protected from the harsh weather elements that we have in this part of the state. They're shaded and have ample airflow through the barn.
What we found is that's led to a more consistent intake as far as feed that the animals are consuming, as well as a better overall health for the entire barn because they're given that fresh feed 24 hours a day.
We're next to the feed kitchen in our barn where all the feed is stored before it's loaded into the MFRs to be distributed throughout the barn. We've got modified distillers, we have high moisture corn and silage all in the 3 bays of the kitchen here. And then we have dry rolled corn and supplement augured in, as well as MGA for the heifers in this barn. We can hold 160 head per pen.
We have 6
pens. I'd say our health is improved in this barn because cattle don't have to fight the mud that they do in a traditional lot.
I think the feeding around the clock, the 24 hours having fresh feed in front of the cattle is very significant. The easiest way I explain it to people is if you go to the buffet and you go to eat pizza at the buffet, do you choose that piece of pizza that's been sitting under the warmer for a half hour, or do you choose the one that they immediately put on and is fresh out of the oven? I think everybody chooses the one that they just put on the buffet that's fresh out of the oven. And to me, that's what we're doing for these cattle. They're getting the freshest feed, that warmest pizza straight out of the oven every time they come.
Every head of cattle in the barn gets the same opportunity for high quality feed all day, every day, rather than the stragglers falling behind and getting the leftovers at the feed pump. The kitchen is where kind of the brains of the system are located. It's also where the computer is at, so we can input any health information or data for the cattle when they enter or leave the barn, as well as weight tracking and feed information. The intakes and accuracy of the Vector system is all tracked there.
We then have a micro feeding system which will incorporate MGA for feeding heifers, and then 2 large outside bulk bins, one of which contains supplement for the cattle, vitamins, minerals, key nutrients that are needed within the ration, and then the other one is dry rolled corn. Anything coming from a bulk system or a mini hopper system is fed by an auger directly into the feeding robots, but otherwise the Vector system utilizes a grabber, kind of like a claw, in order to grab the silage, modified distillers, as well as high moisture corn to go into that ration. We then have a roughage box which feeds or conveys our roughage based products of stover, rye, straw, and ground alfalfa hay directly into the MFR as well.
In terms of labor around here, our time goes more into the care of the cattle and the health of the cattle rather than the work that goes into feeding the cattle. And when we can put our time into our cattle, we can get better results from the cattle and in the long run have more time for other aspects of the farm. In a traditional lot, I'd say feeding twice a day for 1,000 head would take 2 to 4 hours, whereas here when we walk through the barn to check the cattle, that takes roughly an hour, depending on what we may find, if we need to treat cattle or not. Here we're mainly looking for respiratory issues, hoof or foot and leg issues, which are minimal if any in here because we do not have to fight the mud and the harsh conditions that cattle would normally be living in an outdoor pen. So we're looking for just overall health of the cattle. If we find something that might need treated, we will take them down to the chute and treat them and track them in the computer system and then return them to their pen as long as they are able. If they need to be held separate for a while, we will keep them in the sick pen. Here's a graph of the feed intakes of the cattle over the month of June, starting with the first of the month up until yesterday. And normally in the hotter days, cattle don't have the appetite to eat like they do on the cooler days. And this graph shows us that our cattle have not backed off any in these last 2 to 3 very, very, very hot days. So we can contribute that to the barn, providing them shade and airflow, and the cattle have definitely had an appetite to eat here. Our cattle are still gaining because they are still eating. And when their pH of the rumen can stay at the same level, they will have better gains throughout their life rather than if they overload on feed and then back off on feed and have the variance there. So the more steady we can keep our cattle, the better their gains will be.
Thanks for visiting our farm in northeast Nebraska and seeing how we have taken the steps to provide a nutritious, healthy beef product to the American people and the American consumers. Enjoy that steak.